The church bells are ringing, brother. It is the best
song in the world.
Song in the world. There's no doubt about it. But happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. I'm Nathan Creeks, joined by my co-host, Mr. Bryce Bortschelder. Bryce, you better give me a quick excuse before I jump through the screen for not wearing green and give you a little pinch.
Oh, hey, I got a little green.
Oh, okay.
I got a little green underneath the Bulldogs. I know my camera doesn't always show what I'm wearing, which sucks because I've been wearing the bandwagon Drake bomber jacket all winter, and I don't think anyone's even really noticed that. But that's usually the podcast attire, and yeah, a little bit of green. We did celebrate St. Patty's Day on Saturday, but happy St. Patty's Day, as you said, to everybody out there.
Yeah, well, if you didn't have green on, you did have a good excuse there for the Drake Bulldog gear. I got a brand new Travis Matthews sweatshirt. It is
Dude, I saw those in stores. They look so nice.
Comfiest thing I've ever put on my entire body in my entire life. There's no doubt about it.
So, Nate, I got regripped. I got all my clubs regripped, and I was waiting for him to finish it up at Golf Galaxy in West Des Moines. And I saw that sweatshirt. I was like that close to grabbing it.
Here's the problem that, the sweatshirt was very expensive. And we went to Shields on Saturday and to go do a lot of shopping. And at the time, I had a golf polo in my hand. It's a cute little raccoon digging in some trash. Super comfortable. Okay. And we're just walking around. You walk around for too long in Shields, you're screwed. And we kept walking by this sweatshirt like 3 or 4 different times. They picked it up, hit it back, and then we walked around again. And then time will tell at Shields. And ultimately, we ended up buying the sweatshirt for like $160.
Yeah, it's expensive. And Shields will always win.
God.
It's a worthwhile purchase and good for spring golf, which we will be getting out there a little bit this weekend. I'm so pumped for this weekend, dude. I know we have so much March Madness to get through, but we scheduled a couple tee times and a little indoor session, so we will be watching and live betting games and playing some golf. It literally can't get better than this weekend.
Yeah, I'm heading out to Texas Wednesday, and I'm leaving just in time because I guess there's a freaking blizzard coming here again in Iowa. I'm going down to Texas Wednesday. Mike and I have a tee time booked for Thursday morning at 8 a.m. We got the first tee time of the day. And actually might be even sooner than that. I just know we got the first one today because we want to get as much golf in before tip-off starts around like 10:40-ish. And it's going to be cold, but I got this jacket. We don't care. A couple beers will fix a problem. Yep. And I'm looking forward to this week. It's going to be one of the best weeks of my life.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, do you want to do a little weekend recap? I know you headed down to the Knapp Center. You spent a little time in Des Moines yesterday getting fired up. As I mentioned, we did a little St. Patty's Day bar hopping. But I'm totally down to focus on basketball if that's where we're at.
Nah, dude, I want to know how you survived downtown Des Moines because it looks like some of the boys didn't. Yeah,
we didn't. I got a couple of messages even this morning that it's at the age we are, it's 2-day hangovers. You don't just have the 1-day hangover anymore. You have 2 days. Mm-hmm. I feel pretty good. The benefit of being 29 years old is that we started our St. Patty's Day activities at 11 a.m. We went down to the Early Bird in East Village and grabbed a couple breakfast tacos and some Bloody Marys, mimosas for the boys.
I'm hearing stats here that I don't know if you were part of that, but maybe some of the boys put down 8 mimosas each to start the day off.
Yeah, there's a good chance that they did because they gave them like a whole like self pitcher, so they both had 2 of those pitchers. Yep. So there's a very good chance that they each had 8. 2 bloodies for me. We just from there went to like 5, 6, 7 of the East Village bars, and Jeremy was the first to dip out. We were probably at 4 or 5 o'clock, and Jeremy's like, I got to be done. And I totally understood it at that point. The day gets long.
Business decision.
We had some reinforcements. We got Connor Young and BK, as we call them.
The closers.
Join us. Yeah, the closers. And they gave us our second wind, but I made it to about 7 o'clock after our Uber from East Village to Court Ave. I dipped out of Johnny's probably around 7:30. Food by 8 and in bed by 9. So I actually felt okay on Sunday because I gave myself plenty of time to recover.
St. Patrick's is such a dangerous holiday. It's arguably probably the most.
Yes.
I don't participate in Blackout Wednesday anymore. Before Thanksgiving, that was always my number one weakness, and you just felt like shit all day after Thanksgiving trying to eat food. So I took that holiday out of my schedule. And now my Thursdays are much more enjoyable. I can just enjoy my food and I have to vomit it up. But St. Patty's, man, such a good time, such good vibes. you're getting to the
Yep.
March Madness era, everybody's outside partying, all in green, and you just have no reason. I mean, all the green beer going in you. It's just
Yep.
you're screwed.
Car bombs and green beer.
Yeah,
And
and see, that's
yeah.
I don't take a lot of shots. I do my absolute best to take away shots, but also got the car bombs. And I was at Lucky Horse yesterday, and they still had green beer, obviously, because it wasn't St. Patrick's
Yeah.
Day quite yet. And we were doing. They're like, you know what mini beers are? It
Yes.
was kind of like a mini beer shot, right? But it's something I don't know what the fuck. Bailey's was in it. It was awesome, and that was a problem.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, this is delicious. So now I'm taking shots. I'm drinking green beer. Dangerous mix up.
It is. Yeah. St. Patty's Day is a great excuse to be Irish for a day and do as the Irish do, which is drink a ton of Guinness and just get silly. It was great. 85 bar, bellhop, Koa, Beechwood, Locust Street Tap. We probably hit 7 or 8 spots throughout the
That's
day,
a lot.
and everyone felt it by the end of it. But that was kind of the point going in. We don't do it very often anymore, so when we do, we make the most of it.
Yeah, you guys FaceTime me a couple times. Ben did, and I'm like, is there any room to stand in any of these bars?
No,
I
no,
it was,
especially in East Village, everything's a little bit more compact. Once we got down to Court Avenue, it's still really busy, but the bars are just bigger based on the layout, and it's still super packed. But you at least can like get a booth or have standing room. Now, when we've done that in the past and it lines up with March Madness, that's when it can get a little crazy, even on Court Ave. I think we almost even did that 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yep. And I
yeah.
got lost downtown for a little bit. Had to do the adventure to get back to Ben Krieg's apartment after Drake lost. Such good times, but I'm happy I didn't participate this year, man. I feel awesome.
Yep. I don't know what the future of St. Patty's Day holds for me. I think every year I get a little bit smarter and cut that time short. It's always fun to have a taste of it, but these days there's just so much to do. There's a little bit more responsibility, and you just know that your body is not going to handle it as well as it did when it was 23, 24. So happy that we did it. Happy that I called it an early night.
Yeah,
I still wasn't in good enough shape to join you for that nap center party, but
that's where I'm getting at. Yeah, I knew I
yeah.
was going to lose some of my soldiers the next day. I was making the trip down to Des Moines for the selection show Sunday at the NAB Center, and I knew right away in the morning, I'm like, there's no way any of these boys are making it. And I did a quick wellness check on the guys just to see if they're alive. Got some responses, and that's about all I could ask for. So I was happy to see that you guys survived the night, but I wasn't going to be entice you guys with potentially coming. I just said that's out the window. So I reached deep into my contact, and I have the home run hitter every time, the guy that never says no. Shout out to my good friend Neil Koob, who hopped right on the train and joined me at the Lucky Horse. We had a great day at selection show at the Nap. We'll jump into that when we get closer to the March Madness talk here later in the episode. I want to talk about some other big news going on here in Iowa. Some devastating news that directly impacts my family. I mean, this is terrible. Adventureland Inn to close its doors.
Yep, I thought of you guys when I saw that news come through on KCCI, and we reposted the story. I thought immediately of the Creeps family that takes that annual trip. I mean, I don't know if you guys still do it, but for so many years, you guys would make that trip and stay at the inn, right?
Every single time. The best part was almost staying at the inn the night prior, right? Growing up, they had the great bar, the swim up bar. And man, Michael and I, my cousin, would just swim between the little things underneath water, going between people's feet, just living like we were the coolest kids in the world, at the Adventureland Inn. Go to the game room. Man, that's where gambling started. They had a win there. You can try to spin the wheel and make sure you can win some tickets. That's where my gambling problem began, was at the Adventureland Inn. And why is it closing?
So the comments and the information I was reading was that Adventureland's growing. And they're adding more staff for safety and for whatever other reasons, and they want to turn that into staff housing. So I think they're taking it out from the public. It will still be there, but I think it's going to be used for a different purpose.
So, like, the staff's just going to live there all summer? Where are these staff members from? Are they not from Des Moines?
I don't know.
Are they bringing in some recruits throughout the country? Yeah.
I don't want to get too far into that because I think we're going to start asking questions we don't want to know the answer to. But that was kind of what I was getting to when I was digging a little deeper, and it seemed like the consensus from a lot of the commenters on that post.
I mean, if they're expanding, you're growing so much, just building another freaking hotel, Whatever. Really sad about it. And some of my best memories were, going to Adventureland and riding the Molly trolley over in the morning to Adventureland, just kicking off the day. Man, I hate to see it move on from it, and damn, that hurts. You get rid of some golden rides throughout the era
Yeah.
eventually, and that hurts. Now you're taking away the inn. Get
Yeah, yeah, the log ride and the silly silo and some of those classics from
the
when we were growing up
mixer.
are gone. And yeah, the mixer. So just new faces. Things have to upgrade and things have to
I get
change.
it.
And
I get it, man. But
it does suck, but
whatever.
hey, it'll live in infamy for you and Michael at
Yeah,
least.
we'll be ranking a top 5 segment here in the summer or closer, maybe towards the end of the spring, ranking our top 5 Adventureland rides. So we'll have to do one, maybe the ones that they got rid of and the current ones. So whatever. Moving on to, I know I'm pissed. Damn. Like some guy commented on the tweet on Iowa Chill. He's like, "You fraud! You never even stayed at the Adventureland." I respond like, "My ass, bro.
Yeah,
I didn't come out of the womb. I came out of Adventureland Inn growing up.
yeah.
Man, I got
You
blood,
know,
sweat, and tears in that freaking hotel."
Iowa Chill's not always news, right?
Uh-huh.
It's news that's relevant to what we feel like is important or interesting or special to us. So when we are posting news, there's usually a reason, some sort of direct, indirect, or whatever tie in to why we're posting it. That was a ode to you guys because I knew that was a special part. So any commenters, every once in a while when we're posting new stuff, there's usually a reason behind it.
Oh, all right. Well, we don't have any more better news coming this week. We have a blizzard
Okay. Yeah.
coming midweek. Looks like. I think it's gonna be more towards central, northwest, farther northeast, north central Iowa, that type of direction. So southeast is good because I'm flying out Cedar Rapids Airport Wednesday morning. But it looks like the storm's gonna come on Tuesday night. Uh, Agona's in the direct impact zone. Agona's taking an
Okay.
82% chance of 4 inches of snow plus, and with 55-mile-per-hour gust.
Oof. So yeah, that's true blizzard.
And
Good news is I think that the rest of the week is going to be pretty warm. You just probably have to deal with kind of a crappy snowstorm for a day.
yeah, because I'm looking at the temperatures here, right? And Tuesday is a high of 70 degrees in Iowa City. No, Wednesday. Damn. Okay, so no, Tuesday's a high of 70 degrees. Wednesday's still a high of 65, while blizzard's going on in a different part of the state. But then they have Thursday snow for Iowa City. Man, the
Yeah.
entire state's gonna be in a loop here, man. I don't know if we're gonna get any snow here in Cedar Falls. We have a high of 50 degrees. What the hell is gonna happen? But the high in Algona is 44 degrees, but 100% chance of snow. It's gonna be some sloppy, wet mess with wind.
That's what I didn't understand either. When we were getting messages and stuff, trying to plan golf for the weekend, plenty of people are from the northern part of the state that are coming to Des Moines for the weekend. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Snow? Like, it doesn't look like it's going to be cold enough for that. But, you know, the temperature changes in 2025 are going to be talked about for years because we've
This is
had plenty of 70-degree days that go down to like 30 degrees.
this has been an unbelievable roller coaster ride, right? And the winds has been atrocious too. I mean, that we expect.
Yeah.
But man, just the on-off switch we keep having is freaking driving me insane. I
I
hate
know.
because then you get readjusted to the warmer weather. You're like, nice. And then it hurts again to go in your garage at 40-degree weather, you know?
Yeah.
Because when we're
I
getting out of winter and when it's 40 degrees, it didn't hurt to go in the garage. You're shelled up from the winter. But now we just can't, our body doesn't know what to get adjusted to.
Yeah, it's that Michael Scott snip snap snip snap.
Uh-huh.
If for any Office fans out there, yeah, I don't know what to think, and I've always said March and April are the toughest months to be in Iowa because you're so ready for that nice weather, but you're not always gonna get the consistency. As we've mentioned a few times this winter, this is why you're setting yourself up for those first couple of weeks where you're like, okay, we're finally out of the thick of it, and we're gonna get some good, consistent, nice weather.
Yeah, I
We're
think
not there
I
yet.
think I'm leaving at the right time, getting out of Iowa. Gonna go down to Texas. I think the high is about
Yep.
like 72 degrees there every day, so it's gonna be perfect. The morning will be a little
Mhm.
bit chilly for our golf, but I don't care. I'll be so happy to be down in Texas away from some snow. Man, I'm pumped. And then, like I said, March Madness coming right around the corner. But hey, before we jump into March Madness, we have arguably the biggest news, no, the biggest news in Iowa men's basketball here in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
The end of an era. Fred McCaffrey was dismissed from all leadership of the Iowa men's basketball program last Friday.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall. I think for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Hawkeye fans, it's still you never quite know when it's going to happen, and I don't think anyone was shocked. I think Fran was such a polarizing figure that you're kind of 50-50. I appreciated your thank you to Fran because I think he pulled us out of an era where we needed a change, and we needed some fire. We needed a red faced guy on the sideline that's willing to go to bat for his players. Um, but as Andy Fale said on Sound Off, he didn't resonate with everybody. He didn't have the hearts of all Iowa fans, and rightfully so. I think that he wasn't the personality that everyone could get behind. Either which way, he's gone, and it's time for a new era. And I'll let you say your piece because I know you've been following Iowa basketball as close as anybody the last 15 years. So
Bryce, I mean, we've kind of spoke this into existence throughout the last couple of months here in the Iowa Chill Show. We know we've had a follower reach out to me yesterday on my social media. He's like, dude, you guys called everything. You guys, I mean, a lot of people, yeah, probably called Fran heading out. We talked about Owen Freeman, his injury. Like, this is it, man. He's done.
yeah,
And now he's just using Owen Freeman he was history, man.
He was always half foot in, half foot out.
Yeah. Now him and Brock Harder using the coaching excuse. I mean,
Yeah.
I can maybe see Brock Harder, but Owen Freeman, you're a history, my guy.
Yeah.
You go make your money somewhere else, man. You deserve it. There's no doubt about it. And I'm fine with that, dude. When you get a new coach, sometimes you just want to reflush the system, bring in new bodies, get rid of the old ways. Because I don't want any of the old ways transition into the new era of basketball we're about to see. But yeah, tip of the hat to Fran McCaffrey. Todd Licklider eras were some of the darkest days. They were the darkest days of my life growing up as a basketball fan. I mean, just begging us to get 1 or 2 Big Ten wins, and me staying up at 10 o'clock at night, watch us get our ass kicked by Indiana Hoosiers. And Fran McCaffrey brought in a new ejection of life, turned this program around, brought fans back in the Carver Hawkeye Arena. And unfortunately, you saw the writing on the wall, like you said. The ceiling was only so high with Fran, right?
Yep.
And as a program, Iowa in the Big Ten Conference, you deserve better than that. We thank you for your 15 years, man, but I've seen where this program's going. I'm sick of watching teams score record-breaking program highs against us at a consistent base 4 times this season for 4 different teams in the Big Ten Conference to score their program high against us. That's unbelievable that happened. Then you watch Illinois put up 106. We scored 94 points in the Big Ten tournament and still lost by 12 in regulation. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing that happened. I don't care how many players you're out. That was embarrassing, okay? It's time to move on.
It is.
It's time to move on. I said I liked our players. I really did like our players. It's the strategy, the coaching was not put forth this year, and you saw it, man. Teams we were the get right game for teams to go in and kick our ass, shoot with confidence. It was the same thing night in, night out. Okay, thank you again to Fran McCaffrey, but hey, country roads,
Take me home.
Bring DeVries home to the state.
Yes.
He belongs. Corn-fed mama, country roads, DeVries is home. Man, I'm feeling good about this potential for it happening, right? West Virginia gets left out of the NCAA tournament by... No, Mom. No, it's not the time.
Mom's calling.
Yeah, West Virginia gets left out of the NCAA tournament by, some are saying, the biggest shag in NCAA tournament committee history, because a committee member who is an athletic director over there at North Carolina and had to step outside the room while they made the decision. Get the fuck out of here, bro. If you and I, all the boys were in here, I'm like, yeah, that's Bryce's team. That's our boy. Step out of the room. We'll make the decision quick. Get shag.
Yeah, you're telling me that he doesn't have the eyes and ears of everybody in that room, has facilitated relationships for how many years, and doesn't have a little bit of pull, even when he's out of the room for that potential decision.
The fact that they said
insane.
The fact that they said you stepped out of the room just makes it even worse. Just you know what decision you're gonna make. Just leave him in the room. Just tell us, hey, yeah, dude, this guy's in North Carolina. We know what the hell happened. So stupid, but it works out well for Iowa's advantages here, because now it gives Beth Getz a potential opportunity to make a quicker decision, is which you need in today's world with NIL and all these transfers that have now entered the transfer portal. Get working on them as soon as possible, right? If Darren DeVries is your guy, find a way to make it happen. Find a way to make it happen now. Now's the time, because West Virginia just announced that they will not be participating in the NIT or the Crown postseason play.
Oh, wow.
So West Virginia fans are all saying this is a red flag. He's gone.
So is that a direct snub to the NCAA for leaving them out?
Potentially. So it's either direct, like, dude, we're pissed. If
Mm.
we should be in the NCAA. Fuck this. We're boycotting any other tournament. I totally get it. Or it's DeVries is checked out, man. He's like, hey,
Yeah, that could
if
be
we're
it
not in the
too.
NCAA tournament, I got other obligations. I'm pursuing here back in my home state of Iowa. So that's the way I look at it. If
I agree. What a great time for us to snag a guy that has a rich history of being an Iowa guy. Also really exciting that you probably get a Big Ten first, second, or third team All American right away because Tucker has one more year of eligibility, which I didn't realize. I thought that guy's been in college for so long that he's got to be done, but it sounds like he would be able to play another year.
he's got the medical
So
red
you
shirt,
you
yep.
snag Darren, you also get Tucker, which would be instant injection into that Hawkeye program.
And I so obviously, yeah, you look at Fran McCaffrey's last season, and we had the lowest ticket sell percentage and attendance, even compared to the look lighter, which is atrocious, right? We need
Yeah,
fans to regenerate this.
that's the fan base saying we're done with this.
Yeah.
We've had enough.
Fran McCaffrey talk about, I don't have enough NIL money to compete. No one wants to give you money right now while you're at the helm. Dude,
Yeah.
we're letting teams score 120 points on you a game. This is getting ridiculous. No, I'm not going to get paid money for this. I'm not going to attend any more games. Hell no, dude. We need someone with Iowa blood to come in and take this program over that has history at Iowa. Darren DeVries' brother is the all-time tackle for loss leader at Iowa. Jared DeVries played for the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
Darren's a two-time state champion from Appleton Parkersburg, a very rich, historic high school program. With coach at Creighton, which is basically freaking Iowa right there on the border. All right, then you come to Drake, and then you take your chance over there at West Virginia. I get it. The door is open
Yep.
back up for Darren DeVries. The entire state wants you to come in, get a guy that can immediately reject life back into this fan base because that's what we need to
Mm-hmm.
cover back up. Give a reason for donors to open up their wallets and bring in someone that they feel comfortable taking over this program. That's Iowa fan base for you, right? We're not your
Yep.
other schools where let's get the best guy. Obviously, we want a great coach, but we want a guy that's got Iowa connections that you feel attached to, that you want to support this program financially wise and emotional wise. And Darren DeVries is that guy.
He is. He is. And you're 100% correct. The conversation about NIL is so interesting because on the one hand, you've got guys like Izzo and even Alford, former coach, speaking up about that situation. Here's what they're not saying because they secretly want a guy like Fran to stick around so they can keep kicking his ass. When you bring a good product to the floor, the money will follow. So package up a great product with an Iowa guy. Iowans will rally. You'll be surprised how much more NIL money we have when we're bringing quality product to the floor.
You have to be able to connect with the fan base nowadays in an NIL era. You just have to feel like you're invested in them. Like, and I feel like Fran McCaffrey really didn't do that, right? And that's not going to go. That's not going to flow nowadays. You got to be a people. And sure, you saw all the outpouring support from his players. They loved him, and I bet they did. I've always liked Fran. I'm kind of pissed at his coaching strategy here the last couple of years, but I see why players are embedded into him because Fran really did care about his guys. There's no doubt about it. You saw all the support
Yep.
from social media, and I get it. I totally get it. You want to back your dude up, right? And go back your guy up. You saw Connor McCaffrey tweeting clown faces immediately. There's always been some bad blood with the McCaffrey sons and Iowa fan base, and man, I mean, Fran McCaffrey made a shitload of money here at the University of Iowa. He's gonna make $4 million extra doing nothing here. Just say your goodbyes. I'm thankful it happened, but it's time. If there's ever a time, it was now.
Yep. Yeah, leave gracefully at this point, and I'd prefer if Connor and some of those guys stayed out of it a little bit, just because I think that even after they left and went to Butler, I think that generally the feeling for 50% of the fan base is very positive for the McCaffreys, and you'd like to keep it that way. So hopefully it's a graceful exit, and like you said, he's getting his cash and should be setting ourselves up for a new era, as you said, in the Hawkeye basketball program.
Yeah, I'm hoping to find out a decision here this week from Beth Getz. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's get a reason to get excited for next season. That's 8 months away. Yeah, let's jump into Selection Sunday, baby. I can't believe college basketball NCAA tournament actually starts tomorrow already. I love the playing games. The playing games tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the official tournament starts Thursday. But Bryce, I make my way to Des Moines tomorrow to attend my first ever live selection show with the national basketball team. And I start the day off by going to the Lucky Horse, one of the old time bangers of a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love it. Go there with Coob, a couple of green drinks and some of those mini beer looking shots. And I got the chicken nachos. He got some wings. Demolished it. It was awesome.
Looked great. You were kind of documenting the day throughout the experience on Twitter, and those chicken nachos looked great. What did the Coob have?
He had some Korean spicy boneless wings. Yep.
Okay, nice.
He said he used to work in the area, so he went there more than enough. So he was a very avid fan of that place. But Coob is notorious for never being cold, so I knew he was gonna be in shorts and a t-shirt. So I upped my game from jeans to shorts. And the walk over there was a little cold. It's pretty windy, but luckily it was a north wind. And when you're sitting on the south side of the nap center, you're blocked by the wind. So we sat there for about 50 minutes waiting for the gates to open. We were the first people in line.
Yeah,
I thought there's gonna be
I was going to say, were you actually the first people in line for that?
We were the first people in line for that. And I thought there's going to be a lot more people, but like 10, 15 minutes before, shit ton of people showed up. So you got in the doors right away. We thought we were going to get front row seats right behind the Basma hoop, but they save a certain amount of section for family members, rightfully so. And then we were just right behind them. And I met one of my good Twitter friends, ex-friends, Drake Van Taren, the little Coach McCollum lookalike. So we've been talking about all year on Twitter about getting a picture together. So he sat right next to me. Legend. He's a legend in the Nap Center. Everyone respects his presence when he walks into the Nap Center. And yeah, I was grateful to get a picture with Taryn. And he knows his stuff. He was cheering for the Wisconsin Michigan game. He was calling some plays out and what he liked about it. I'm like, yeah, he is like a little mini coach. So Taryn, shout out to you, brother. You and your mom, Brittany. They're on their way. They went to that, and then right after that, they went to the airport to fly out to Florida. So.
Oh, really? Okay, nice. So we'll be watching games from Florida.
I was trying to ask them, like, you guys gonna go to the NCAA tournament too? They're like, they're up in the air about it. I'm like, so they might cancel half their trip potentially. I maybe didn't catch the whole story, so I'm not gonna tell it, but don't be surprised if you see a little Coach Mac there in Wichita, Kansas. But yeah, so the suspense builds up, right? Such a cool vibe. They had the big screen, the players sitting in front of you, the big screen on, all the cameras from CBS pointing right at you. And man, you just feel the vibes, and just being a part of it for one time was so awesome. And Sean Roberts did a great job getting the fans hyped up. We're doing some practice drums and the Drake Bulldogs. Everyone gets up and cheers. But yeah, the suspense really built up, right? You see Iowa State get called in the first region. No Drake second region, no Drake third region. So every time when it came to the last region with the potential pick, you can just feel the buzz. And we all knew when it was Missouri with the 11th seed, it was going to be us. And we get the draw. So your Drake Bulldogs get the 11 seed selection to face the number 6 seed Missouri Tigers in Wichita, Kansas. And right away, I love that draw. I'm like, I'll take that. There's a couple other potential seeds. I'm like, oh, good thing we didn't get that. Right away, I loved it. The more I look into this game, I don't love it so much. I mean, you're really not going to love any matchup in the NCAA tournament unless if you're a 1-2 seed. It is how it is. The last 2 years, I loved Drake's seeds against Miami and Washington State, but we ended up losing those, right? A lot of half the country probably has Drake money line versus Missouri, but I will too, obviously. But Drake's got to prove themselves for once in this first round and get the job done. What's your feeling on this matchup?
I went homer bets all the way through my bracket so far. I have not officially submitted the bracket, but I've got Drake in the Sweet 16. I'm just going to lay that out there right away. I will agree. It is a little bit nerve-wracking that the entire talking head media is on Drake.
I know. I hate it.
I know they open at 6-point underdogs, but it feels like one of those that they're almost expecting an upset here, which is a little bit. It's taking away kind of that surprise element,
Cinderella
that you want to see in the Cinderella teams. Yeah, I feel like when you get a Cinderella team, it's because the favorite starts to panic a little bit, and so I feel like that element is a little bit out the window. Even though they open at 6-point underdogs.
You're right. Yeah. Now Missouri's got all this power behind them because they feel the hatred, the disrespect towards, like, everyone's picking Drake over. So now you got all that more intensity every day going in their practice. I hate that. You want to go and feel pretty good about that game. So we don't have Missouri on that edge. But still, I trust Coach McCollum. No matter what happens in this tournament, you got to give Coach McCollum the benefit of the doubt for probably having the coaching up hand to wherever his opponent is. Right? I
Yep.
trust his in-game coaching. I trust his pre-game coaching, his strategies to make this a game, and that's exactly what Drake's done all year. Right? Doesn't matter who they play, they're going to make it a game. Contrast the styles. That's all everyone's
Yep.
talking about. Drake is number one defense in the country, points allowed. Missouri is averaging 84.5 points per game. And I think Drake gives up 69 points a game. Tony Perkins, right? This is a fun matchup because you have uh, former Iowa player Tony Perkins and former Iowa State player Caleb Grill, who really found their niche here in the last month. Caleb Grill averaging 13.7 points a game. Tony Perkins averaging 9 points a game. And I've said all year long, I've been telling you this last night. Drake has to do everything in their will to make sure it does not lean in any way of Missouri game plan, right? You cannot
Mm-hmm.
have them play their up tempo, and that's why I trust Drake a little bit here. Slow the game down every single possession because this game could get out of hand real quick, I feel like, in the first 10 minutes if you let Missouri shoot the ball, if they get some shots to knock in. Keep this game close, keep Missouri uncomfortable the entire game as much as you possibly can. And that's why I trust Coach. I think they're going to do that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm going to go back to what Coach said against Bradley in that championship a couple weeks back in St. Louis. He was asked at halftime, what was so great about your defense in that first half that kept Bradley at bay? And he said it was smart offense. And I think that that's going to be the key. You can't have Missouri getting long rebounds. You can't have Missouri getting in fast break, and you can't play foolish passing or, you know, on even on defense, like leading to turnovers, like any way that could potentially shift the flow of the game going from Drake to Missouri is going to be a bad thing. So I'm going to lean on Coach to figure that out and the boys to play smart offense that doesn't lead to those long rebound or turnover fast break points.
Yeah, we need to get the ball to the rim, draw fouls, slow the game down, let Bennett Sturts control the flow of the game, and just make your shots when you get the opportunity, right? It's what all it comes down to March Madness. Make your shots when you have the opportunity provided to you. And before I knew this matchup, I was skeptical. I'm like, God, if we play someone that has a lot of size, it's going to create a lot of problems for Drake.
Yep.
You could look at Bradley's and say Bradley's a tall team, but Drake took care of them, right? So I feel better about moving forward with taller teams. And I was looking at Missouri's lineup right here. The last game against Florida in the SEC tournament, 14 or 12 of Florida, Missouri played 14 players this game. 12 of those players were guards
Mm-hmm.
for Missouri. So looking to the lineup, the two centers that do play are both 7 foot. However, these centers, one starts, one comes off the bench. These centers combine together for only 4 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
So right away, I feel good about that. However, some of the guards are 6'8", one 6'10", and then one 6'9", and so they have some diversified guards that can create a lot of problems for Drake.
Yep. The other piece when I was looking into this game is that the mismatch won't just be down low; it'll be up top as well. That front court. That's where it gets a little interesting. You mentioned 14 players that Mizzou will consistently rotate. That's not the same for Drake, and they've gotten a little deeper throughout the season, but it gives even more weight to foul trouble. You got to stay out of foul trouble. You got to play these guys smart. Aggression is that's a given. You have to be aggressive in the tournament. That being said, you have to be smart aggressive. You cannot have Abreu, Maniau, and these guys getting into foul trouble early.
And this is why the pace of the game is so important to keep it in Drake's favor, right? Because the slower the game, the less possessions. The less possessions, more likely potentially less fouls, right? And the switch of offense to defense, you see some bumps and runs, and depends how the refs always call it. So stay out of foul trouble. You're absolutely right. And we continue to offensive rebound. They might have some size on the guard position, especially if they're 7-footers. Tavion Banks has been an absolute monster on the glass. And you got to go with the dog mentality. Just be dogs, what Michael Admire tells me. And that's exactly what they've done in the most important games this year. Have been dogs, have showed their will, have showed their power, and showed the reason why they're 30-3. You're outright Missouri Valley Conference champions and you're tournament champions.
Yep. I'm not worried about these guys being crafty, being a little bit, they're going to get the loose balls. They're going to find ways to get rebounds. I see this being like the key to success is control that tempo, see a couple shots go down after you've wasted 25, 30 seconds of shot clock, and then quick shots from Missouri where they start to get frustrated and you can just keep, you know, death by 1,000 paper cuts. I think that's how Drake wins 1 or 2 games in the tournament.
This game will be played at 6:45 Thursday night here in Wichita in the Central Time Zone. The current line is -6 Missouri. I know money line right away when I hopped on it. It was 250. I think it's already down to 215, 220. So you can
Yeah,
tell the
yeah.
fan, the public's on Drake money line.
The nation sees value in Drake, and obviously Iowa's going to be a little biased, so I wouldn't be surprised if that gets all the way down to 175 at one point, and then jumps back up closer to game time on Mizzou. Once that you get a little bit more value from Mizzou.
If Drake wins, oh, my bracket went away. Damn. If Drake wins, they play the winner of Texas Tech and University of North Carolina Wilmington, I believe.
Yep.
Texas Tech's a good team. They beat the number 1 team in the country this year. So I mean, they're Big 12. Or no, it's Texas Tech Big 12.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who did they beat? That
Big
was
12.
number 1 then.
Uh,
Maybe I'm
Houston,
tripping.
probably.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're right. Maybe it was Houston. Yeah. I think you're right. But yeah, I ain't gonna worry about that game yet. Take care of Missouri. If so, I like the first couple matchups here potentially for Drake. But like I said, man, first round's been our Achilles heel since the 1970s. So let's get the job done. This is your chance. All right. We'll move on to the Iowa State Cyclones, who got selected right away to begin the region. And the number 3 seeded Iowa State Cyclones will face number 14 Lipscomb. I have no idea how to pronounce it.
The Lipscomb Bisons
out of Nashville. I just looked it up this morning.
Mm-hmm.
But big news coming up Iowa State, right? Keyshawn Gilbert TJ announces that Keyshawn will not be playing at all in this tournament, which is weird. Is there something more going on in that? What do you know about it?
There was speculation that there was something else at play here other than the injury, which obviously his last few minutes were against Cincinnati in that Big 12 tournament. TJ and the team say no, there's nothing else going on. And when you saw them on Selection Sunday, he was front row, front and center with his guys when they got selected. So I like to think that coach is he wants him to get healthy. He's not going to push his guy who likely has a chance. I don't know if to be a lottery pick. I don't know if he'd get selected, but I think he has a chance to climb through the G League and maybe play in the NBA. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure what's going on. But nonetheless, a huge blow for Iowa State. Obviously, one of their top scorers and a starter. So that is a big blow.
It's just weird how TJ announced it, right? Like already eliminating him for the remainder of the tournament. Like
Right.
If it was the injury was this severe, I feel like we would have known days prior. Yeah, but how do you not leave it open for him to potentially be playing more? So that tells me maybe there is something going on. I don't freaking know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It really felt like he was day to day, and they were kind of saving him for this round of 64, but obviously that's not the case, and we'll just have to kind of wait with the rest of the world and figure out what's going on there.
It's too bad for the Iowa State Cyclones because they've been not at full health here in the last month and a half, and it's taken a toll on some games, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it with BYU. You've seen it Oklahoma State. Games like that. It sucks that they couldn't finally have their fully healthy team because when they did, man, they were looking like one of the top 3 favorites to win the NCAA tournament in a whole.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about Lipscomb here? The Lipscomb Lions, you said?
I think the Bison.
The Bison, the Lipscomb Lions. I've seen them in the NCAA tournament previous years. What do you know about these mid-major teams? Is that they play fundamental basketball, right? You look at Drake, fundamental basketball. That's what makes these mid-major teams so dangerous when it comes to NCAA tournament time. They play the game the right way. That's why teams love to sit around and solely from them. You look at their turnovers, right? They don't turn the ball over very a lot. 9.5 times a game. That's 13th in the country. Compared to Iowa State's 11.9, which is 195th in the country. That's where these Cinderella teams get you. They keep the game simple. They played the game the right way. They execute when they can. They execute at an efficient level without turning the basketball over. Comparable stats here, though. Lipscomb averages 79.3 points per game versus Iowa State's 80.4. Now, points allowed is Lipscomb 67.3 versus Iowa State's 68.1. I mean, I know we're talking 2 completely different conferences, but same style of basketball. I feel like we're watching here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the tough part about these 3 versus 14, 2 versus 15, 1 versus 16 is that you very rarely have common opponents to compare. And obviously, the mid major conferences are so much different than the Power Fives. The interesting thing about March Madness is that you always have a 3 versus 14, you always have a 2 versus 15 upset. And a lot of times, I think that comes down to a mismatch. I almost think this works in their favor that they play a similar style of ball because those Cinderella teams usually they found a weakness that you might not have identified in the Big 12, Big 10, SEC. I think that teams like Iowa, UNI, Iowa, Iowa State, some of these favorites to win the tournament are sometimes at a disadvantage because they've built their teams for success in their conference. You see it in football and basketball. So I don't know what your thoughts are here, but I almost think this is maybe a good thing, a good draw for Iowa State. The one semi, you could almost call it Power Five common opponent. They did not hang with Kentucky at all early in the season, and I know that was months ago. But I do feel like this was a positive draw for Iowa State.
I do too. Because Iowa State's going to win this game on the boards and through their dominance down low with
Mm.
Jackson and Jefferson. Lipscomb does not have a lot of size. And before I watched two guys with Iowa everywhere this morning, I was trying to watch some tape here on Lipscomb. And to me, right away, I'm like, God, they remind me of Belmont. And
Mm-hmm.
Belmont, what I've been saying previously, Belmont is the mid-major BYU. And now I'm seeing Chris Williams this morning saying, I think this team is the mid-major of BYU, right? So a
Okay,
couple
so
eyes here
there's yeah.
seeing the same thing. Not a lot of size, just some white, tall, skinny dudes like around 6'8", that just stretch you, right? But that's been Iowa State's weakness sometimes, right? They play these teams. It just depends. Can Lipscomb start hot behind the arc, get a couple shots to fall, get that confidence going, which I might see this. It might be a close game here for the first 7-8 minutes, but I think the size and dominance down low with Jefferson, Jackson, and Chatfield, Iowa State controls this game and ends up winning by 13.
I think so too. I think the spread's really
Yeah.
fair. I don't feel too worried. You mentioned Belmont. They actually played earlier in the season, and Belmont, I think, edged them out by like 1 point. I agree. I mean, the long rebounds can go either which way. We said that was maybe a key for Drake, like controlling tempo. You don't want Missouri, getting fast break points, but that worked almost in Iowa State's favor. I feel like a lot of the game versus BYU. I think the size will help, and I think having Lipsy back and just keeping things cool and chill through that ups and downs of the first game will be very helpful.
If you're Iowa State, you gotta rely on your nature here. And your nature that we haven't seen in the last couple of months has been your defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disrupt Lipscomb as much as you possibly can. They're a team that takes care of the ball. You get a team that takes care of the ball all season long, all of a sudden starts turning the ball over to start the game early into the biggest state spotlight in college basketball. I mean, there goes their gameplay, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're a fundamental team. Disrupt them, make them play a little chaotic, and
Yeah,
just control the glass. And then I think Iowa State wins this one handily. I really do.
I do too.
That's a
And
great.
and
That's
I
a great
like
matchup. There's a lot of dirty seeds out there that you don't want to play. Lipscomb's probably
yeah.
the one that makes a little bit more sense for the 14 seed. The UC, God, who is it? UC San Diego team, 12 seed,
Uh-huh.
is like one of the best
Mm-hmm.
12 seeds I've ever seen, and they're playing Michigan, who just won the Big Ten championship, and that game right now is a 2.5 spread. So,
Yeah.
it's a good
So
draw.
we're
Good
we're
draw for
think
Iowa State.
we're thinking they get by. What do you think for round two? Assuming that Iowa State wins this first game, how do you feel about their potential round of 32?
I like it. It's as good as you're gonna get, right? But you might potentially have to play the blue blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what is it? It's North Carolina is playing San
And
Diego
San Diego State.
State, and the winner
Mm-hmm.
of that will play.
They'll play. Let's pull that up. They'll play Ole Miss. So SEC got
Yeah,
14 teams in there. That's one of those
everyone's
mid
talking about Ole
SEC
Miss.
teams.
Ole Miss is one of the most overrated teams in the SEC. That's what
I
everyone's
couldn't
saying.
agree more. I think Cyclone Larry joked that the SEC has 14 chances to lose, and I couldn't agree more. I think Auburn and Florida have a great chance of going far. Outside of those two teams, I'm like, Bama looks like they're kind of falling off. I don't love Georgia. I think I have Gonzaga beating Georgia, and I think Ole Miss is one of those teams that could easily get upset by either of those teams. So
Yeah,
I'm forecasting a UNC versus Iowa State round of 32.
and USC cannot shoot the ball to save their life, right? But they got size, and they got blue blood, and they
Mm-hmm.
got history in the tournament, man. It's all that matters. You can take all the stats, no, whatever we say does not matter, right? Until it comes
Yeah.
game time. It's when it comes to March. It's unbelievable. Just play your basketball, right?
It's the most, like you identified it. The most fun part about these games is that who can maintain composure when the game plan falls apart. And whoever does that better, that's where I like Iowa State's experience in these games.
And if you're looking at this route, you want this route for Iowa State. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely. They got lucky. They got a 3 seed. I can't believe it. I thought for sure they're going to be locked in on a 14 seed. But good draw. It's a great draw for Iowa State.
I was seeing some people saying that they almost thought they could flip Wisconsin and Iowa State had they mentioned that Keyshawn would have been out. I think that was a good move by them, not saying that he was not going to play.
But here's these problems. You look at these games and you're like, oh, we feel great about this route, and that's where it gets you sometimes, right? I think.
Yeah, you don't want to fall in love with your route to the.
If I remember, Iowa State was a 3 seed when they lost to number 14 seed UAB. So
John Shire for Duke had the best comment I think of the day. Whether you get a good draw or bad draw, you got to focus on the game ahead of you. So 2 or 3 games from now, you're not going to be like, wow, we're so glad that we had the easiest route. No, you're going to be glad that you executed your game plan and you maintained when things fell apart.
Every game in the NCAA tournament is a game. It doesn't matter, and that's why it's the best sporting event in the world. And man, am I looking forward to it. So hey, we'll be touching up after the round of 32 on next week's podcast. But Bryce, we're gonna cap this podcast off with our top 5 favorite Iowa school moments in the NCAA tournament.
Let's do it. I'm going to pull mine up. I actually used your video as reference points for some of the years and things associated. My number one's hands down always been, and always probably will be my favorite. But
I thought you started
that far yet.
I thought you started. I was like,
just prefacing, like there's five moments listed here. The only one that really matters is my number one, and we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, just so people know, we're probably basing this off our timeline, right? Not people who were born in the 50s, 60s. I didn't see any of that basketball.
I didn't watch any 80s basketball.
No, so we're going off our relative timeline here growing up. So start us off for number 5.
Number 5, I've got the Woodbury putback off of a Giselle 2-point conversion or 2-point attempt.
Giselle.
And last second 2 by Woodbury edges out Temple. I think were we a 10 seed? What was that?
We were 7 seed versus a 10 seed Temple, and that year we beat Michigan State number 1, and at one point we were like number 2 or 3 in the country with Jared Utah run, and then we had Franuary. We fell apart, ruined our seeding, and Anthony Clemens fouled the 3-point shooter from Temple with like 10 seconds to go, and he made all 3 free throws to tie the game up, and then Giselle botched it on this baseline, and Woodbury just shoved the dude in the back and put it in.
Yeah, a little cheating, and one of the all-time terrible shots by Giselle. But a great moment because they advanced to the round of 32.
And then they got smoked by Archidiacono and the Villanova Wildcats. Yep. I think they didn't win it all that year, right?
They did. They ended up beating UNC that year.
Tough draw for the
Marcus
Hawks.
Page, great moment.
No, it wasn't that year. Or was it?
That wasn't that year? It was, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Shit, maybe
Archidiacono, he passed to that number 1 for Villanova. He ends up winning.
That would make sense
because
Giselle, Marcus Page were the same year in high school because they played in the same AAU team at Martin Brothers. Okay. My number 5, DeAndre Kane's buzzer beater versus North Carolina. And I remember sitting in Fluff's basement back in Laguna and watching DeAndre Kane. I'm like, this guy, every time he drives, he's a tank. You could put 10 dudes on this, and the ball somehow goes in every single time. And I called it. I said, Fluff, they're going to give the ball to DeAndre Kane. He's going to drive into a swarm of people. He's going to throw it up. It's going to go in. And sure enough, I could barely see DeAndre Kane. The ball just went in. The advance Iowa State to the Sweet 16. And dope moment for them. DeAndre Kane was a dog.
I got that one on my list as well. I'm going to kind of go back to a little bit earlier era, but really the turnaround point for when the Cyclones kind of got back in the favor of the national spotlight with Hoiberg. And it's not necessarily a moment, but it's a player who created a lot of big moments, and that's Royce White. I'm going to highlight the game against Anthony Davis in that round of 32. They don't win that game, but he fouls out with 23 points and 9 boards. And this guy did everything, like 4 or 5 steals a game, 4 or 5 rebounds a game. And like 15 points. This guy did everything. He actually ran for governor of Minnesota and lost this past election, and notoriously couldn't fly on planes. So he just was kind of this very anomaly type player that I'll remember forever, and he just had tons of great plays.
That game was on my honorable mention. I remember his dunk on Anthony Davis, or at least on Kentucky, and him mouthing, "I am the best player," right, against
Yep.
one of the most unbeatable teams in history of college basketball, in which they finished the season undefeated and then won it all.
Yep.
That was an unbelievable Kentucky team that they ran to, and they threw a punch at him. Couldn't hold it off,
Yep.
but
They
Royce
did.
White was the real deal. My number 4, Iowa beats Cincinnati 2019. Cincinnati gets a little hot start. I think maybe got down 10, 11, 12 points, and Iowa claws their way back in with a really good, sound Iowa team. Yell a bunch of space. Luka Garza, who wasn't quite Luka Garza yet. Tyler Cook, Joe Wieskamp, Nicholas Baer, Jordan Bohannon. We had good players, Connor McCaffrey. That was a real well-sounded team there. And Jordan Bohannon, with the ball in his hands, 6-foot white dude in the NCAA tournament, takes it to Cincinnati, gets the and one. I think they put the Hawks at 5 a couple seconds ago, and that was just such a dope moment. We were watching back at 1-1-1-4 Cedar Falls, and we all went to the bar after to celebrate.
Yep,
Great
one of my
times.
favorites. That was my honorable mention, and I'm so, you'll see, you and I focused in my top 1, 2, 3. But yeah, just great round of 64 moments. Obviously, every Cyclone fan that's listening will know. Yeah, we don't make it to the Sweet 16, but there's been some fun Iowa moments in the tournament.
Yeah, a lot more unfun moments, but people are going to be, what the hell, Nate? You put that ahead of DeAndre? Yeah, I'm an Iowa fan. Of course I did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that more. But I'll wrap it back here with my number 3.
Yeah.
Woodbury buzzer beater. Classic. Spring break, freshman year. We're at my house. My cousin was a delivery driver for Hy-Vee, and I want to make sure he was at my house for that game. So I ordered a bag of chips from Hy-Vee to make sure he was there for that game, and got over and put back to win it, baby.
Yeah, there we go.
We went nuts. My
you and
basement.
we have those flips. So you had, I think, mine at 5, and I have your 5 at 3.
Okay.
DeAndre Kane, and a little bit just because DeAndre Kane was one of my favorite players to watch in that era. I loved his ability to take it to the rim, and just what a finish against a
so
blue blood.
good, bro. So consistent.
And again, it was in that era where you just really felt the tides turning in Iowa State's favor, and they really haven't looked back for the last 15 years on, really being the premier basketball school in the state. I'll wrap it back with one of our, we almost can say,
are you number 2?
I'm on number 2.
Yep.
Paul Jesperson. My 1 and 2 are going to be UNI focused because we are UNI grads, and we love the true underdogs of the state. Obviously, we'll root for Iowa and Iowa State as the time allows, but being in school at this time, driving back from South Padre, listening to the game, didn't have YouTube TV, couldn't watch on mobile yet, and just hearing that Paul Jesperson hit a last-second shot to beat Texas. One of the all-time moments. Texas ties it up with a few seconds left. The inbound play goes to absolute dog, and Jesperson makes a play, half-court shot to move on to the next round.
Yeah, my number 1 and 2, obviously UNI, and it's not just because we went to UNI. It is because they are the best moments in the state of Iowa history. There's no doubt about it, and two of them are the most iconic in NCAA tournament history. My number 2 is, you can't be serious with that shot. The Ali Farouk ministry against Kansas, the biggest stone ball shot I've ever seen from a player in the NCAA tournament. Up 1 with 40 seconds to go, they break the press, and Ali just launched the 3, and it was the wettest thing I've ever seen. Hits the 3, Kansas goes back in transition, gets a charge, and UNI takes it right in the wall.
Yep. UNI's leading with 1 point. Is it okay if I just circle back since that's my number 1?
Yeah, it's our number 1. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, my bad.
Okay. We're already up by 1 point, and we get a turnover, fast break. Ali gets the ball in the wing, and everyone in the world's like, what is he doing? And then it's just the wettest 3 of all time. UNI wins their first game against San Diego State, really close back and forth, and then just all game looked like they could hang with the big dogs. Kansas was the overall number 1 seed and goes down as one of the best upsets. Obviously, you get a Sports Illustrated cover out of the whole thing, and Ali goes down in tournament history.
And one of the best calls, right, on air with the "you can't be serious" absolute slogan. That's why it's so famous, because almost that call too. Yeah, my number 1 is the Jesperson shot, and this one I felt a little bit more attached to because a week before the tournament, Jesperson was at my apartment, And my roommate, Kale Render, was in PE, physical education class with him, and Jesperson came over and played Call of Duty with us. The coolest dude ever.
Yeah.
He was so chill, so cool. Loved the dude. Just the nicest dude ever. And then a week later, I'm at my couch, and that same day watching the Woodbury buzzer beater. Later that afternoon, we watched Jesperson heave up, I think, what is the longest game-winning shot in NCAA tournament history. It's got to be against Texas after they tie the game up, and Jesperson knocks in a half quarter. And we just went belligerent in my basement. And then we ended up drinking tequila shots, which we shouldn't have. No, Everclear shots.
Oh,
We went to Everclear. Yep. And oh man, I'm glad. But man, yeah, unbelievable. And obviously that they followed. They followed with a historic loss.
That was on my notes as well. I didn't mention it on my number 2, but one of the epic collapses, 12 points in 34 seconds, a chance to go back to the Sweet 16 for the second time in 5 years, and they give up those 12 points and end up losing the game against Texas A&M. And that not so much of a fun moment, but also another one for the history books.
The state of Iowa schools have some of the most historic NCAA moments in ways that's benefited us, and then also some of the most historic ways that have been heartbreak losses. And the heartbreak losses got Hampton versus Iowa State 215 C, UAB Iowa State, the Northwestern State corner 3, the Western Kentucky 3, the Texas A&M comeback. Terrible history when the NCAA tournament. We've had some awesome moments though too, and that's why we love it, right? You could ride the highest of highs, and man, do you ride the lowest of lows?
Yep. I know people that just watch the clips will think we're cheering against Iowa State. I'm cheering for Iowa State and Drake. This is a week where I think the whole state has to come together and support Iowa moments, Iowa history,
fun.
Stuff that you remember.
It makes the state of Iowa fun, right?
Yep.
Not an Iowa State fan, but it makes it fun. If you can feel the atmosphere in your state, right? When a team is advancing in the NCAA tournament, there's no doubt about it. It makes it fun. And guys, buckle up. This is the best time of the year. We've been waiting for this all year, and we're here. It begins tomorrow.
Yep. I look forward to the recap in a week after round of 32, looking ahead to Sweet 16 and Elite 8, and I hope that we have at least one team to cheer for. I think that there's opportunities. I think that the draws are favorable. I think you just got to go out and execute, and best week of the year, folks.
All right, everyone, have a great St. Patrick's Day and a happy March Madness. Hopefully we come back with a happy podcast next week.
Adios.
Just west of the Mississippi. Kicking back, evidently. Everybody grab your people, come on.